I wanna do a full circle moment of this episode and come back to the very question that we started at the beginning of the podcast. And I wanna end with that very question is that if you can just sit in the gym without touching a single weight and just through the power of your mind and visualization, increase your muscle mass. Just think to yourself, what is possible? If you can achieve that, the possibilities are endless. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Wiser Together. This is your host, Parmeet Kumar, with your co host, Anastasia. Thank you for joining us and being a part of this. We appreciate your support. Let me start with my personal story. I still vividly remember on 2nd of Jan in 2015, I came across how monks live and their ability to overpower and control their mind. And I just used to think to myself, if you're able to do that, what are the endless possibilities? 8 years into this journey, and the more we talk about this with you, with other peers, the more I indulge in these activities, and the more I search deeper and deeper into this question, I am baffled by how insanely powerful our mind is, and if we put it to right use, what all can be achieved by it. There's this study that I came across recently, and I want to share with you and everybody who's listening or viewing to this. Did you know there's been several studies done on this where they've divided the subjects into two groups, and one group wasn't given any instructions, the other group was given the so both of those groups were put in the gym and they followed a standard weightlifting routine for a couple of weeks. One group wasn't giving any instruction and the other group was given the instruction of visualizing their muscles growing and improving, and them gaining more muscle mass and strength. And at the end of it, they saw a 30% increase in muscle mass for the people who visualized doing that. And then there was this other study where subjects weren't even told to do anything. They were just told to go to the gym, sit in front of the weights, and just visualize. Just visualize them lifting weights, going through those movements, and increasing their muscle mass. And at the end of it, without even touching a single weight, they saw a 13% increase in their muscle mass. How crazy is that?
Oh wow. How is that even possible?
That's what I'm thinking. Like, how is that even possible? But the more and more I've looked into this, like, it's sort of like it's visualization and it's manifestation. And we know this that if you keep repeating a certain thought or a pattern in your mind, your whole body believes it to be true through this release of certain chemicals in your body. Your body essentially doesn't know where you are, what environment you're in. Your body communicates to your mind via thoughts, and it just comes down to if you produce certain kind of thoughts, the cells in your body believe it to be true, and
I
it's
mean, I mean, okay, so this is pretty insane because 13% increase in muscle mass, right? Or muscles, or
yes, it's pretty significant.
I mean, that is just huge. Just by visualizing. So, I mean,
Yeah.
wow. This actually, okay. So I can understand because the other day I was listening to a Wim Hof interview. I know that you're a
Hmm.
big fan, and he was telling all sorts of things. And basically, the interviewer was asking about. Basically, Wim Hof does this 4 days workshop, right? And in one of the days of the workshop, he basically teaches. I don't know if it's visualization or what, but basically he's so the whole thing with Wim Hof is just to like take control of your body, right? So in one of the parts of the interview, he says that Wim Hof, he can, when exposed to the cold, can stop his skin from decreasing below whatever his body temperature was. And that's pretty insane because, as you know, that I've also been doing cryotherapy for the past month now. And I mean, so when I go, before I go in, my body temperature is usually like 32 degrees, but when I come out, that's like 17 degrees, right? So, and I was just thinking, like, okay, I mean, because I am experiencing this, I am experiencing minus 110 degrees Celsius, right? How the hell is he, like, because I'm sure he's doing much more than I am in terms of cold, because he's, first of all, he's doing it very naturally, but he's stopping his skin body temperature from going down. So I mean, after listening to that and then listen to this, I really don't know, like you said, what is possible and what is not possible anymore. It's insane what some people can achieve nowadays, or
Yeah,
before. I
it's
don't know.
crazy. I want to mention like the body temperature that you're referring to, that's your external temperature that changes. Your four main organs, which is your brain, heart, your liver, and your lungs, they remain at the same temperature. If they do change their temperature, you will literally die. So it's basically your body's way of coping up. They protect these four main organs while your external temperature at the level of your skin changes.
I see. That makes much more sense.
Yeah. And that happens both in the cold and in the warmth. That's why you see when you go in the warm, your body's trying to rush blood outside the main organs to protect your extremities. That's why you start sweating and the blood goes into your extremities. And the opposite happens in the cold. The blood is rushing back up in the four main organs. That's why you start feeling numb in your fingers. Have you, like in cryotherapy, you must be feeling as well. Your fingers and your toes kind of
Yeah,
start
I
feeling.
was about to say, because you've talked about this before as well, and now since I am experiencing this firsthand, so what I go in is only in my boxers, but they make us wear thick gloves, mittens,
Gloves. Yeah.
and thick
Mhm.
socks, and like a headband to protect the air. But that is obviously because of the extremity. These are the most sensitive points on your body,
Correct.
so they just want to keep them warm, like you said. The blood. That's why, like, we feel cold at the end, like, I don't know if I mean, like, anyone who's been in cold temperatures, the first thing that you feel is in your like the end tip of your fingers and your toes as well.
Yeah.
So this is
Yeah.
where the cold first takes place, and this is where it hits the hardest. So, and that's why
Yeah.
you wear gloves and thick socks and stuff, right? So yeah, that
Yeah.
actually makes sense. The thermatic effect, yeah, this is what is happening, both the opposite in warm and in the cold, like you said.
Yeah, exactly. So this is like the extreme ends of where your blood can travel to. So when you get in the cold, the blood is rushing back in. So these are the points and regions in your body that your blood goes out of and rushes back into your four main organs that I just mentioned. And that's why you may start feeling sort of numb and stuff. If everybody's ever done an ice bath, what happens is essentially when you get out, your body's trying to neutralize again, and the blood will start rushing back into these extremities. And because of this, a lot of people can feel dizzy, and I've seen people pass out as well for a few minutes. That's why you must have seen Wim Hof has this infamous action or exercise that he does where he's squatting and just moving his body left to right, this motion that I'm doing right now. And somebody who knows about Wim Hof or has seen him, he does this a lot in his videos. So this is basically a way of neutralizing that blood rushing back to your extremities, uh, and it warms you up as well. So that being said, I want to share another experiment that Wim Hof did. First of all, Wim Hof and David Goggins, two of my biggest mentors, I extremely adore them and look up to them so much because of one very specific reason, which is that to me, they're supernatural human beings, right? They're literally like real life superheroes, and I'm just very attracted to them because I want to see deeper and deeper into their mindsets, like what makes them who they are, and takes them ha- likes them to adopt this mindset where they're able to do these uh, superhuman things that we haven't even heard of before. Like, it's crazy how does this. So like, I think Wim Hof now, from last what I remember, is he has 28 Guinness World Records, ranging from running mounting climbing Mount Everest in his shorts, running a marathon in the Arctic, running the marathon in the Saharan desert, extreme environments, being in an ice bath for close to 2 hours, and several others. One very specific one that I want to mention here is where this group of scientists, they injected a virus voluntarily. It was in a controlled setting where they injected a virus in his bloodstream through his veins, through his wrist, the veins in his wrist. And what that virus was supposed to do was make you very sick. And a normal person with normal immunity would just feel sick for a few days. Nothing too deadly, I think. Just some sort of.
I think it was E. coli. I'm not sure, but
Yes, yes. Yeah, that's what it is. In any case, what happened was this guy, through his breathing, was was a could, I don't know, somehow he made his immunity stronger in the moment, and his immunity was fight off the virus right while it was injected in his blood. uh, and this was never ever ever seen before, or scientists didn't even think this could ever happen. And then after this scientific experiment was conducted, they told them, "Oh, we don't think this is still possible. We just think that you have some uh,
genetical
genetic."
advantage. Yeah.
Yeah, and that is why you're able to do this. So Wim Hof went and said that I'm gonna train a group of people that you give me, normal people. I'm gonna train them for a week or 2 weeks, and then they conducted the same study on all those people, and all of them were about to do this. It's absolutely insane
I
what
just
your brain
wanna
can do.
I just wanna add one thing over here because we were talking about Wim Hof. So he has a twin brother. Okay. Yeah. And yes, and his I mean they did, or they also did like a genetical test on both of them, and they are like 100% match. And because like you said, uh, he's really into research. His whole thing is scientific, not even religious. His whole thing is scientific. So he said that most of the things that he does, his brother couldn't do until he taught his brother the same breathing
The
techniques.
Wim Hof method, yeah.
Exactly. So, so the thing is that people who consider Wim Hof to have a genetical advantage, he literally, like, it's God sent. You know, he literally has a twin brother that is 100% genetical match, and he cannot do the same thing. So, it was more about technique than genetics, because he clearly seems to be like us normally. And going back to your point, that is insane what a human mind can do when it's calloused. And I believe, like what you were talking about, those two mentors, Wim Hof and David Goggins, it's just that over time and time again, they have been able to callous their minds. And like, just it's going back to what you said last week, I guess, when you were talking to Moksha regarding, what was it, limbic friction, the Huberman term, I think, right?
Limbic friction, yeah.
Yeah, and that was just about doing the thing, which is, like, which just like battles with your mind, right, to live, that should I do this or not, such as like taking a cold shower, running in the morning, blah
Yeah.
blah blah, like any hard thing. So just to be able to do that again and again, again and again, it was the same for me. Like now, like, so I do my cryotherapy after office, right? Like I'm dead tired, and I'm like, now
Do you
I just,
feel the resistance? Do you feel the resistance?
not anymore. You see, like the thing was, like so I'm like having like a full day, starting from 4:30 and then fasting the entire day, hungry, tired, and I'm like, now I have to put my body through extreme stress for the next 3 and 30 minutes or 4 minutes sometimes. And now I look forward to it. Actually, I was telling you, like, basically I extended my membership, so now I look forward to it. Although it's like, in the first it was just like, damn, like, that's going to be like insane. But the idea, I think that the challenge is just that, like, now I want to do more, but physically it's not possible, because after like a
Yeah.
certain point, actually in the cold, your body would have the same effect as if like your body suffered like a 2-degree burn. because
Yeah.
I don't know what's the science behind it, but yeah, this is what happens after a certain time at a certain temperature. So yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, certainly everything is good in moderation. We're not saying that you should literally live in ice baths. I'm not a scientist, so I just quote people and refer to people that I very much trust and have researched on. One of the voices in this scientific world is Dr. Andrew Huberman, who we quote a lot here, and he says that 60 minutes of sauna, which is hot therapy, and 11 minutes of cold therapy a week can bring you all the necessary benefits. And speaking of it very generally, uh, this would be the most optimal amount of time to spend in these hot and cold temperatures. Obviously, it may vary for different people, but on a general basis, 60 minutes of sauna and 11 minutes of ice bath will bring you all the necessary benefits that you can get from hot and cold therapy.
Correct. Yeah, definitely it does. And I mean, hot therapy has the advantage of increasing growth hormones. Cold therapy, as you said, has a lot of advantages as well, such as energy boosting abilities, reducing inflammation. One thing I believe, I really took Wim Hof's like this the breathing technique and just like focusing my mind was that, like when I, because there are two three things which are special to me as well, because I fast, right? And sometimes nowadays I've been fasting 2 days in a row as well. So I've not been eating in the night as well, only because I've been very tired, and I'm just like, I just want to sleep and just wake up, because I just don't feel like wasting time on eating. And sometimes I don't even need it. You'd be surprised. Like sometimes you don't even need food, and I still manage to pull out an amazing day with the same level of energy. Now I don't know if this is because of cryotherapy or not. Anyways, when I'm fasting for 2 days versus 1 day versus not fasting, when I'm fasting for the most time, which is the 2 days, I get cold very easily. Like my body starts shivering. Now I don't know, is it because there is no thermetic effect going on my body? Because as you know that once you eat food, your body needs to break it down. So there's obviously heat being generated to break down that food. So when I'm on an essentially an empty stomach, I believe in 2 days, I believe whatever was there must be digested or gone. I feel the most cold, and that is when I just really focus on my breathing and I stop shivering. I'm not even kidding. Like I just start breathing. It's because, like he said, when you're exposed to, or just picture this, like we've seen so many movies or TV shows or anything, like just like a visual representation, when someone is exposed to anything cold, or when they're jumping into an ice water, like an action hero jumping into an ice water, they take a deep breath, right? Yeah, they take a deep breath. So this is what I do. So now once I just take a deep breath, it's like I don't know what happens. I just stop shivering. I really need to look into this, but it's true. Even with the cold, now Dubai is entering into winter season, so thankfully we're getting cold water now. But like now, I don't know. I mean, what's the temperature? But it's becoming child play. But every time I do this, I just breathe in deep, and then I don't feel the cold. So yeah, I mean, can you explain what is going on? I mean, you have way better experience than I do in this, so just very curious.
So your breath, and there is, so breathwork is becoming extremely popular nowadays. Breathwork is very different from what meditation is. They can be, the two practices can be intertwined and used in conjunction in certain practices where you're regulating your breath and meditating at the same time. But essentially, these are two different things which can have similar or overlapping benefits. Breathwork, there is different types of breathworks that are being introduced that people can do for different reasons. But essentially, what it does is it allows you to take control of your nervous system, right? And that could be maneuvered or manipulated uh, to cater to different situations in different ways. Like I've seen people teaching now they're teaching breathwork for being confident or being more
Amazing.
resilient, and all of these different things, which all comes back to like how much of your nervous system are you able to control, and and then you kind of build on that. But certainly, like a big part of the Wim Hof method is the breathing exercise, and then the ice bath and the mindset. And when they all come together, that is basically what Wim Hof method is. I met Wim actually
Yeah.
in
Yes.
February of this year, and I actually met David Goggins as well. So two of my mentors, and just
When did
meeting.
you meet David Goggins?
I met David Goggins on the 18th of Feb this year as well. He had come to Sydney. He was
Was it like a workshop?
sort of like a, not necessarily a workshop, more of like a talk where he was just talking, doing Q&As. He had released his new book as well, Never Finished. Amazing book, by the way, if anybody wants to check it out. Uh, and it was phenomenal. And then I met Wim as well. Wim is honestly a force of nature. Just whenever, just having him in front of you, you just see energy entering your body and you feel so energized. That person has some, wow, I don't even know how to explain it, but like we all did 500 people in the auditorium with him, and Wim was guiding us, and we did all did the breath work together. And my God, like my whole body, like I was going through, I could feel my body being like electrocuted. I was like full of energy. I felt limitless at that point. And then we went and we all did ice baths together. Again, Wim was like 1 meter away from me. I shook his hand as well. I met him, and I felt very grateful and privileged to have received this energy and learning from him. From that point onward, I read his book. I have been practicing the Wim Hof method. I have a friend I will bring on the podcast very soon, who's a level 3 certified Wim Hof instructor. So he teaches this method, and I've done several workshops with him as well. So if you're all new to this, please do look into it. Starting anywhere is better than not starting. Uh, so better late than never, as they say. Look into it. I can most certainly say and write it down that it will benefit you no matter who you are. uh, and that's what it is. But coming,
No,
yeah,
no, actually, because for me as well, like when I heard it the first time, breath work, breathing, yada yada yada, like
sounds a bit
like
gimmicky, right? People,
of course, and I mean, like people spending some money, like whatever it is, $100, $50, even $10 to learn how to breathe, which we do as a second nature, like, and what we've been doing all of our lives. Just sounds like, okay, are you going to teach us how to take in oxygen? That is what we've been doing as soon as the second that we were put on this earth, right? But the thing is, actually nowadays this entire thing has become very very popular, and due to a lot of like these people, remember this I forgot the name of the guy who trained Dana White, right? That guy basically yeah, Brecca. I'm forgetting his full name as well, but this guy Brecca, right? He trained Dana White, and now he looks phenomenal. Dana White is just like a completely changed person now, right? So basically this guy was like a, how do you say, like a data analyst for an insurance company. So basically he has tons of data available to him from insurance agencies on how people die, right? And he says that, okay, so ways for people to die, there are many, that there are trillions of ways to die, right? Like you can die from a car crash, a heart attack, by drowning, etc., etc. But like these are just events, right? But the cause of death is something called hypoxia, right? So what is hypoxia? Hypoxia is basically absence of oxygen to the brain, right? So when there is no oxygen to the brain, and brain is definitely the most vital organ, that's why you see, even if like the body survives, the person is in a vegetative state, right? So essentially they become a vegetable. So that's what it basically means. So when there is no excuse me, when there is no oxygen to the brain, this thing is called hypoxia, and this is where you die. So event might be anything, like I said, car crash, drowning, etc., etc. But how you die is through hypoxia, when there is no oxygen to the brain. So I believe this single thing really explains where, like, I mean, Wim Hof might be the pioneer, and other guys might be following in their own way, etc., etc. But I believe now the realization is this, that yes, like hypoxia and oxygen and these things are coming forward because you really need oxygen. And this is what Parmeet is saying. Like, like I'm sure, like even in the auditorium, they might be doing the breathing techniques. I've tried it as well. It's not as easy as it seems. It's like, you have to take your breaths in a certain fashion, in a certain manner, and continuously, and that's when you truly achieve that effect, right? But that's the thing. There is something going on behind the scene. That's why all of these people are coming up with these things. So it's truly remarkable that we're delving into the effects of oxygen, and we're delving into the effects of breathing. And this is what this guy Brecka also, like, encourages, that you should be like, your body should be built optimally. Like, you should have the nutrients which are like, so that your red blood cells can carry the oxygen to your brain much more efficiently. So this is like, these people are onto something. And then when you have celebrities going to these people without, sorry, not going to your conventional doctors, it is truly saying something. So I mean, the world is definitely entering into an exciting phase where we're discovering, and we're on the verge of discovering these things.
Yeah. And now, like the world, see me as well personally, I am extremely critical. Uh, I criticize, I'm very critical of these things. And for me, like the evidence needs to be tangible and scientific and all of those things. I'm not able to, otherwise, it doesn't make sense to me. But ever since I got more and more into this, experimented it with myself, put myself in the waters and learned to swim through those dark waters, I truly like experienced how powerful your mind is. Like more and more we're learning about this and realizing this now. And Wim Hof says as well, like these medicines, and he talks a lot about the lobbying these pharmaceutical industry
Yeah,
does. And this isn't really a theme of this podcast, so I won't go deep into that. But more and more people are coming out, and more experiments are being conducted to cure certain diseases, even cancer, just through the power of the mind, visualization,
I
and
agree.
breath work.
Definitely, definitely. I mean, you were speaking about energy. That's the thing with energy. That's the thing with people with these energy, that it rubs off on you. I remember David Goggins. One of his things, like when he's just cursing, and when he's in his zone, he's like, "Some of your energy is so disgusting, is so revolting, that it makes a man impotent in your presence." And I was like, this is exactly how I agree. Like, ever since, I loathe people. Like, I absolutely find it disgusting, people with low energy, and people who bitch and moan. Like, I really don't like that.
Yeah.
I mean, your attitude really means a lot. Like, even if your body language is well, if you're shrugging, if you're not, like, you have a frown, upside down face or anything, it just really rubs off on the room, and it just really delivers a wrong message. And I've always found it like, why? I mean, just you could be exactly the opposite of it, and then all of us could be having a great time. So what is with energy? I mean,
I
what
think
is it? Yeah.
what you mentioned about people being like that, I personally have been there as well. So I can speak from first hand experience.
What do you mean?
Being the kind of person who just naturally has low energy or has that sort of
Ah,
underlying
I've
attitude,
never seen you like that.
like back in the day, and I certainly know what you're talking about. I personally just believe that a person with that sort of attitude or energy, uh, they just haven't come across these things. They don't understand the power of self talk or energy and how it works. If you tell yourself a certain thing long enough and repeatedly, that becomes to be true. And now I'm focusing more and more on how I speak to myself. What are the things I say? You know how you say, "Oh no, I need to watch this today. I need to have this. Oh, I can't run 25 kilometers. Oh no, I'll get tired." Like In our speech, just in our speech, we put limitations around our actions and our thoughts. And from the get go, that is as far as you can see or reach. And our thoughts and our talk, self talk in itself, is very limiting. So it makes sense how it limits our actions and aspirations as well.
Absolutely. I mean, so what you're talking about is adopting affirmative speech. That's what I do with my daily tasks as well. Anything,
Yeah,
if I'm writing down anything, I write it with an action verb, right? Like do this, complete this, read this, study this. So these words are actually like telling you versus uh, uh, I mean, I don't know, book. You write it as a book, but when you say read 10 pages of the book, you're actually putting action to the words and the thought. And actually, it might not seem like a lot, but it's actually giving you a head start. In your brain, it is creating that environment, that energy, that momentum that you can actually start doing this thing.
100%. And I've noticed this for myself personally as well. Like saying something repeatedly over and over again. A very relevant example I can give is that when I was reading the Wim Hof method book before I had met him. This was last year. I was reading a book and I was learning more about the method, and I tried the mindset element of it. So it's got three branches, which is mindset, breathwork, and ice bath. So I tried the other two. I tried the breathwork. I tried the mindset part of it. But I cold showers. I was like, in his book, he mentions that you don't even need to take an ice bath. Start small, as we always say. You just need to focus on the first step. So take your nice warm shower. Be comfortable. In the end, turn the water to cold for 5 seconds. Just 5 seconds. And that was one thing. I was like, I can do anything and everything, but I can't. I don't want to. I used to tell myself I can't do it, but it was more of don't want. I don't want to do it, and that was hard for me to overcome. And the first breakthrough was I turned the shower to cold, and I was literally shouting to myself, "I'm stronger than this. I can do this. This won't kill me. Only 5 seconds. This go." And while I was speaking to myself in that moment, I didn't even give my mind to produce any thoughts because I was just involved in the activity of giving that speech. And you know how they say, watch your thoughts, they become your speech. Watch your speech, they become your actions. Watch your actions, they become your habits. And watch your habits, they become your life. So it all starts from your thoughts. And coming back to
That's
how
amazing.
powerful that is. People just neglect this aspect of it. They jump straight down to, oh, what am I doing? What are my actions? How are they reflective of what life it is producing for me? But they don't understand what influences that action. It is your thoughts, and what influences those thoughts. It's your mind and all the experiences you've had throughout your lifestyle that accumulate your subconscious mind, and your subconscious mind being in certain situations produces thoughts. It's like an algorithm. We keep referring to this analogy, right? And through meditation, through breathwork, through these things, you can really control or observe and be aware of the thoughts you're having, and which thoughts you give energy to and give power to. So that's one thing.
No, in addition to what you said, more of the time, like what people are giving energy is to and giving weight is to what other think as well. Um, Others might say, cold showers is hard. Cold showers is something that you don't need to do. It doesn't have any effect, and that is where like most of the battle is lost, and that is where some people don't even take the first step.
Yeah.
So once we give energy and once we give attention to these negative and dismissive thoughts and like statements, it's something we really don't need to pay attention to. We really need to invest in our own experience, and like you said, some of the time these are being influenced by life experiences, and you've never had those experiences, so it's best to have those experiences and then come to a decision.
Yeah. 100%. And I feel like most Lee, and how I relate every experience to my personal life experiences, what I've seen is like I was like this as well, obviously. You're giving energy and momentum to those thoughts unknowingly, unwillingly, without being aware of the consequences it can have and how it affects not just your thinking, but people say like, oh, I'm people think a lot of things in their head and they just don't realize that it has adverse consequences. It's not just in your head. Eventually, like consciously or subconsciously, you will act on it, right? So just giving some sort of power or energy to even your thoughts or thinking about it uh, puts you in that mindset to kind of act on those things. And a lot of people, including myself, used to do this unwillingly and knowingly, not knowing the situation, not being aware of the situation and the adverse consequences it has. That's why we constantly, again and again, preach meditation, because meditation allows you to be observant and aware of your mind and your thoughts. And through that awareness and observance and having like a bird's eye view over your mind and your thoughts and the thoughts it's producing, you can really eliminate the bad ones and give energy and power to the good ones, which will eventually change into your actions and your habits and your life. Just starts from something as simple as being aware of the thoughts you're having, because that is the starting point. That's where it all sparks from. You can't put out a fire in a forest. You got to go to the point where the fire started, right? And if you just start there, life will be so much easier, and you'll just flow from there. What do you think?
It's
Because
funny. I agree, because you see, it's funny you mentioned fire, because I was about to say, you see, energy never dissipates.
yeah,
Energy is converting all of the time. I mean, this my hot honey warm water, right? So now whatever is left of it, it's cold now. It's, or it has become lukewarm. When I first warmed it up, it was hot. So this, the heat particles over there, and this is basic physics that all of us have learned, right? The heat particles over there aren't evaporating or aren't being eliminated. They're being simply converted into cold particles slowly and surely. And since you mentioned fire, this is what happens. Like, we, some people have, when they come into the world, they do have that fire, they do have that passion, and they do have that spark.
yeah,
But once they start meeting the environment, the room, like, and you can just generally put them into people who have these sort of energy, because they themselves used to be like that, but then through their experiences, and as soon as they started growing older and older, their fire, their passion, also their energy started getting converted towards the cold one.
yeah,
So it's very important that we just keep the fire going in our bellies, in our mind, in our hearts, and we just keep our particles from being like the energetic particles, the positive particles, the momentum particles, like from converted into, like, and losing their momentum, because energy doesn't go away, it is being converted. So it's the same thing with your thoughts as well. So once, like, for me as well, like, once I started realizing that, I was like, it's, energy is energy, right? And it's really hard. Then, now, for example, for me to convert a little bit of this water, I have to put it through a process again to get it back, to raise its temperature, to get the warm particles back, to heat it up. Because you see, hot expands and cold contracts. So if you really want to expand your life, you really want to do things which are just, like, which take you to another level, it's very important that you just don't, first of all, don't let this momentum die, because again, with basic physics, you really have to heat it up and you have to go to a process. So yeah.
that's very well said, honestly. And this we've noticed again and again, certainly in my life, and you've shared this with me as well. Momentum takes off, and then it gets cold, and then we have to heat it up again and again. If
Yeah.
only we were able to
Unfortunately.
keep it alive, like we'll just be climbing a mountain. Whereas right now we're just doing small mountains. But I don't mind this, and I'm not opposed to it, because this is just the process of learning and learning from your mistakes and keep going on.
I think too, there's a little different, because in our case, like, thank God and touch wood that, like I said, I mean, just keeping to the analogy, we get lukewarm. we don't get cold, we get lukewarm, and then we know that we're getting lukewarm, and then I have you, you have me, and sometimes we have other factors that just ignites the fire again. So it's like I'm thankful. I mean, like I do understand what you're saying, and that's the ability to acknowledge, like we don't let ourselves get affected by the room temperature.
100%. And this is certainly this kind of environment and cues that allow us to reignite our drive and passion within us again and again, knowing that we will fail again and again because this is life, but consciously manipulating the environment around you through having an accountability buddy or other factors such as this podcast more than uh, I hope it benefits others, but certainly it benefits me because it holds me accountable, and for Anas as well. And having these cues and sort of manipulating your environment to benefit you and reignite your passion and drive again and again, that's your responsibility. Know what's pushing you down and have certain cues and things in your environment in place that reignite your energy and drive and passion, and again guide you in the right direction, right? That's your duty and responsibility at the foremost, right?
Speaking of energy, recently you went to Bali. I've heard stories. I mean, like, and all the podcasters that I listen to and all the YouTube celebrities, everyone is in Bali. What is it about energy in Bali that all the creative people go to Bali for? I don't know, like, to get that energy, to get recharge. And I was talking to you a couple of days ago, and you said that you also felt recharged. So,
Yes.
what was it that like made you say that word?
Man, honestly, Bali is a hotbed for all of these things that we mentioned. People there, or from what I have noticed in my personal experience, everybody coming there is focused on this thing, elevating themselves, empowering their mind, overcoming their limitations, and just being a better version of themselves. And whenever I go to that place and come across these people who are trying to do the same thing, I always, like, I've been on this journey 8 years now, subconsciously and consciously for 3 years. And the more and the deeper I look into it, I learn more and more, and I'm blown away by the possibilities of it, what your mind is capable of doing. So whenever I go there, I get a refresher, and I'm constantly reminded that you're on the right track. What you're doing has so much power, and I get this sense of self belief, and I fill my cup in and get this full energy to come back and keep doing what I'm doing, and uh, constantly in more better ways. And the thing about Bali is you find all of these places. There's all these workshops and retreats going on everywhere. Everybody's doing yoga and meditation, and certainly when you're around these people, there's so many sparks in these conversations, and through these conversation you really learn more and more about it and elevate that energy and certainly create more of that energy, right? What I've learned from there isn't just going to die down in me. I'll share it with you, I'll share it with others, and what I share with them and what they share with me, certainly they will go on to share it with other people, and I will go on to share with other people. It's just about giving energy and momentum to the right kind of mindset and thoughts. And another aspect about Bali is that Balinese people are the nicest I've met in the entire world. It's when we say again and again that your happiness isn't a result of your external circumstances, it has more to do with your mindset. People there earning someone as little as $150 a month and feeding their
A month.
a month and feeding their whole family with that money, running their house, their kids are going to school. So I when I go there, I'm on these hour long drives in taxis. I consciously for an hour literally speak to the taxi driver, understanding what they do, what their family does, how much they earn, if their kids are going to school, and all of that. And I love tipping them because that really helps them uh, and contributes to their well-being. So what I've noticed is that mindfulness and meditation is fundamental in their life. everybody, someone who's even earning as $150 a month, is meditating in the morning. So in the West is sort of a luxury, right? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like doing these things, you
of course.
it
Yeah,
is it comes after all your other priorities, which is work and exercise and this and that. Mindfulness and meditation comes at the end, whereas for this community, it's at their focal point, which is the reason why they don't steal. They're always helpful, always looking out. Every house you go to in Bali, they do this prayer in the morning every day, and they leave these small prayers outside. You see it outside every house. Maybe this is my opinion, might be a bit biased as well. Most I'm sure not everybody thinks like
no,
this, and
because you've been there a couple of times, so I guess
I've
by this time,
in totality, I've lived there 21 days just this year, and it was phenomenal. At least I like to look at it from
yeah,
that eye, and that's the benefit it brings to me. So it's extremely nice. Bali is amazing for that very purpose. But you don't need to go to
that's why
Bali
you felt
to,
recharged.
yes, 100%, and recharge to smash the rest of the year and the one that
Yes,
is
sir.
coming ahead. Uh,
Yes, sir.
and I wanna again come back, do a full circle moment of this episode, and come back to the very question that we started at the beginning of the podcast. And I want to end with that very question: is that if you can just sit in the gym without touching a single weight, and just through the power of your mind and visualization, increase your muscle mass, just think to yourself, what is possible? If you can achieve that, the possibilities are endless, and you can manipulate and use this to your advantage in countless ways to improve your life. And that is exactly what we preach on this podcast. And that is exactly the kind of energy we like to give momentum to this podcast. We hope that this energy that we're emitting has touched you and improved your life in some way or the other, and we do appreciate it if you support us in amplifying this energy more and more. So yeah, please
Yes, sir.
like, comment, subscribe, support us in any way you can, and we'll keep bringing you this insights, tools, and practices to improve our lives and your life, certainly. So thank you for joining
Yes,
us
sir.
again, and we'll see you next week.
Ciao.